today's video, I want to talk about the COVID-19 eviction moratorium. We got an extension and a new name. So we're starting fresh in 2022, free rent for the year, possibly into 2023. What is going on? When will the madness ever end? Let's delve into it.
When you first told me your name, I didn't hear a word you said, but it was written all over my face. Should've known it was you I would love until the end.
We have 10 million plus labor jobs available right now, and Los Angeles County has extended its pandemic-related eviction moratorium through the end of the year, ladies and gentlemen, with some protections slated, get this, to last until mid-2023. They've even set the stage for 2023, which is concerning. Do you think people will be incentivized to stay home and not work? We got all these labor jobs, and we're extending this eviction moratorium with a new name. So while the state's moratorium expired in September 2021, last week the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors voted to extend the county's pandemic related eviction moratorium until, get this, December 31st, 2022, and extend some provisions into 2023, and to reinstate protections for failure to pay rent beginning April 1st, 2022. So the extension includes a rent freeze. Until December 31st, 2022, and prohibits residential landlords from evicting tenants for non-payment of rent or who cause a nuisance or have unauthorized occupants or pets. So you want to go look at your building, make sure you give 24-hour notice. The ordinance also provides for tenants' self-certification of COVID-19 financial hardship for rent incurred after April 1st, 2022, which establishes, affirmative defense against eviction for landlords. You can, you hire an eviction attorney. They claim a hardship. You can check into it and see what exactly that hardship is. Can they work? Can they not work? So that protection will be amended on June 1st, 2022 to apply only to households with an income at or below 80% of the area median income due to the COVID financial hardship. So things change in June, makes it a little harder for them, but they can still claim it, but they got to meet certain thresholds. So the extension does not apply to commercial tenants. Good news on the commercial side, as of February 1st, 2022, commercial tenants are no longer protected from eviction due to non-payment of rent. I have a gentleman who's got a commercial building I'm helping out right now. They weren't paying for 8 months. So that changed February 1st, 2022. Those protections are gone. The county's COVID-19 Tenant Protections Resolution, formerly the LA County Eviction Moratorium, the name has been changed with a new fresh year, which went into effect March 4th originally, 2020, extends certain protections to residential and commercial tenants affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in Los Angeles County. As we all know, Los Angeles County is a tenant-friendly state. So on January 25th, 2022, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors voted to extend the COVID-19 Tenant Protection Resolution through December 31st, 2022, with provisions already set in place for 2023. So unless repealed or further extended by the board. So they set the stage to get together again for coffee and tea and extend it if they'd want to. So the Los Angeles County no longer has the authority to extend non-payment of rent protection to local residential tenants. The motion extends non-payment of rent protections to commercial tenants and extends limited protections to residential tenants as permitted by law. So tenants in California have certain protections from eviction under state law and local regulations in some cities and some counties. Things are different. Some areas, you have rent control, you have rent mediation. I'm on a rent mediation board in the city of Los Angeles. It depends where you're at. You need to be abreast on what the different areas are in the laws. So the federal and state eviction moratoriums have expired, ladies and gentlemen. They've expired. California has been officially reopened for months. Stay-at-home orders have been lifted. Other states have been open forever. And cases overall are down. Mortality rate is low. Businesses throughout the state have resumed to regular operations. Yet LA County rental housing providers are still being saddled with overly restrictive laws prohibiting their normal operations and profit margins. We're getting crushed. But the institutional guys coming in and buying, spending $50, $100, $200 million for buildings, they can afford to have these tenants not pay and then kick them out. Landlords strongly protested the extensions, urging a swift return to pre-pandemic rules. They said property owners have shouldered the cost of tenants deferring rent for close to 2 years now, and will potentially do so for up to almost another year under the new rules. We have someone we're trying to evict, unfortunately. I called the 9 lawyers that one of the law firms we use. It was a 40-minute wait. They're slammed. So LA County Supervisors extended the local eviction moratorium, right? So January 31st, 2022, despite housing providers' hardships and pleas to lift the eviction moratorium. A lot of people made a case at the board meeting. They changed the name of the extension to the county's COVID-19 Tenant Protections Resolution. And, there's one upside, but when you go through and break down, it's not really an upside. It makes it very hard for the owner. And the moratorium now includes provisions that will allow the owner, owner relative to move into their single family home or up to 2 units and their condominium, a duplex, a triplex, with certain restrictions. And these restrictions are arduous, folks. The restrictions are, bottom line, from Delvin and Newton, big time. It's going to be hard to make that work and move your relative, your family member in, because you got to stay there for an extended period of time. So nonetheless, owners will still likely have to deal, bottom line, folks, with a long and costly eviction process to move tenants out. And that, yes, they'll be required to pay the monies back, but if they don't have a job, you'll never see that money. So what does this mean for commercial and residential tenants on a deeper level? I just want to get into the weeds on this because, when you read it in articles and see what they're saying, you kind of miss this stuff. So on the commercial side, for tenants, as of February 1st, 2022, commercial tenants are no longer protected from eviction due to non-payment of rent. Commercial tenants will have, there's a kind of a timeline here, the following time to repay past due rent from March 2020 until January 2022. That's 12 months for those with 0 to 9 employees, 6 months for those with 10 to 100 employees in equal installments. Hey, if they went out of business, you're not getting your money back. So while eviction protections for non-payment of rent are expiring, anti-harassment and retaliation protections will continue during the protection period, as well as personal guarantee protection for smaller, kind of little thing here, smaller than 0 to 9 employees for commercial tenants. So that's those protections are continuing there. That's when you break it down, you kind of see what's really going on. On the for residential tenants, it's a little different. Some eviction protections, the ones that we listed above for residential tenants and mobile home space renters will continue through December 31st, 2022. One major addition to note under the updated resolution is that on April 1st, 2022, eviction protections for non-payment of rent, including, as I said, self-certification to establish affirmative defense, are added for all residential tenants and mobile home space renters due to COVID-19 financial hardship for rent incurred on or after April 1st, 2022. So it's going to be amended again. So this protection will be amended on June 1st, 2022. That's phase 2. To apply only to households with incomes at or below 80% of area median income. So AMI, due to COVID-19 financial hardship for rent incurred or on or after April 1st, 2022. So you see these amendments, how it changes. They're going to have to, jump through some more hoops if they don't want to keep paying. So residential tenants will have 12 months following their expiration of their COVID-19 Tenant Protections Resolution to repay past rent due on or after April 1st, 2022. If they're not working, you're never going to get that money. So, the county's COVID-19 Protections Resolution does not cancel or stop rent from being owed, technically, or stop the accumulation of rent that is owed during the protection periods. Tenants should pay if they can. If they can, are encouraged to work out a payment plan with their landlord during and after the termination of the COVID-19 Tenant Protection Resolution. Good luck with that. Another significant change in the county's COVID-19 Tenant Protection Resolution. One is that landlords may, and I just wanted to get into this just a touch, landlords may now start an eviction for non-payment of rent with the following stipulations, and this is interesting to get into just a little bit. So for any tenant that has not paid their 25% minimum rent balance for the period September 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021, and who also have not applied for or who have been denied rental relief through the state's rent relief program, housing is key. So number two, for residents that owe rent for any period between October 1st, 2021 and January 31st, 2022, a 3-day notice may be served to the tenant and an eviction may be filed only after, the landlord applies with the Housing is Key program. The landlord must reapply each month, even if they have already applied on behalf of the resident in previous months. So, if the landlord waits 20 days to hear back from the Housing is Key program to see if the tenant has been approved for rent relief. If the tenant is approved for rent relief, then the landlord may not evict. So if they're approved, you can't evict. If the landlord does not hear back from the Housing is Key before the 20 days is up, or the tenant is not approved, the landlord must sign a declaration stating that they applied for rent relief on behalf of the tenant but never heard back before proceeding with an eviction. See the hoops you got to jump through? And any unpaid balance owed for the periods March 1st, when this all started, 2020, through August 31st, 2021, must be sought through a civil judgment or small claims court and are not grounds for eviction. So those are some key points. I'll include those in the description. It's confusing. As a landlord, you're gonna want to try to get your money back from the state. They had the program set up. I know some people that got some monies back. Other people have ate it. They're just writing off those costs. But this makes it very difficult going into 2022 here and extending this program. And we have plentiful number of jobs available for people to work. It's quite concerning because a lot of people are sitting on the couch playing video games all day long, smoking marijuana, and may never go back to work. And just keep living the good life, not paying rent. You give people the hand, they take the whole arm, and that's what happens in my experience in life. And I just can't reiterate this enough. Landlords have mortgages. Yes, there's a lot of guys out there and gals that pay cash, but they have mortgages. They have maintenance costs. They have insurance. They have property taxes. I've been part of buildings that have been trashed from tenants. When you stay in someone's building, you treat it better than your own. But a lot of people forget that. So landlords aren't walking around with all this money. Some have done well, but they've earned that. They've earned that right. And this really hurts the people, in my opinion, with 15 or less buildings, like myself. I know other people do a lot more in family and outside family. The institutional investors are coming in and buying up. They're buying up this stuff, and they can afford to not have these tenants pay, and then get these buildings from the smaller landlords that lost their buildings, which is going to happen. I know it happened to one individual friend of mine, and he just didn't want to deal with it anymore. I personally love dealing with tenants. I enjoy it. You just got to have a mindset for it. It's not that difficult. He had enough, and he lost money, and a big institutional client came in and bought his buildings. And you got to think about, is this done by design? Absolutely 100% it is. It's going to hurt the little guy. And, it's a double-edged sword. There was a time in this pandemic where people needed help. I believe that 100%, and we had to take care of some of these tenants. But now enough is enough. We're going into end of 2 years. We're opened up. There's jobs available. Enough is enough. It's ridiculous. And, it's just, you're really crapping on the landlords. And landlords provide housing. They buy these buildings. They maintain these buildings. They redo these buildings. And there's a lot of time involved in managing a building as well as doing all that stuff. It's not easy. A lot of people fail at it. So they provide a valuable service to people and places for people to live. And a lot of these people are suffering right now. And there needs to be a better balance. And it's terrible. So that's it. We got a new name. We got an extension. We'll have to keep on top of it and see how it plays out. Take care.